Hey, good morning guys. Happy Friday to you. It is Friday. We have a beautiful sunshiny day and it is the second to last week of school. Next week you have school. Monday's a holiday, so enjoy your 3-day weekend sitting at home, right? But then you also have Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Thursday's the last day of school. Thursday is also the day that 8th graders are to go to school to turn in their textbooks, pick up yearbooks. If you have any leftover instruments or things left behind at school, that would be the day to try to retrieve them. And then we're done for the year, so congratulations. Looking forward to the end of this. Okay, so what I'm going to talk about today is the growth of cities based on the changes of the Industrial Revolution. We'll start off by showing off this house that my daughter and I built. It is made of cardboard. We've got some hot glue that's holding it together. We've got a hayloft in there. We've got windows. We've got doors.
There's a rope up to the hayloft.
There's a rope up to the hayloft. You got to have a way to get up to the hayloft. We use a box cutter and scissors. And what else do we use? Some stickers.
Oh, Dad,
you use scissors on that part too. Yeah. So. Pretty simple for a craft at home, but it was not something that we actually build buildings with, right? Did you want to show them your hair now?
Yeah.
Okay, so my daughter dyed her hair. Move it over further. Dyed her hair this weekend, so she's got purple hair now. She's pretty proud of that. All right, thanks for sharing. Maybe you guys want to dye your hair too. I don't know. Okay, so this is current construction as far as crafts go, but we don't build buildings like this. Hot glue is not going to work on a large scale. So we're going to walk through the history of buildings. If you're interested in being an architect, this is something you want to look at because there's some principles here that will help you as you envision that career. All right, let's roll camera. Camera person. All right, let's go back in time to 2500 BC in Egypt. The pyramids were the tallest buildings in the world for the longest time. They worked on the principle that if you widen the base, you have more support for going higher. So if you wanted to make a pyramid like this, if you said, well, my predecessor made a pyramid this tall, but I want to make a bigger one, you have to add another layer, another extension to that base so that you can build another one up and another one up and another one up, and then you can get taller. That's a great principle as far as stability, a great principle for building on height. It's not super efficient because you're using a lot of material, and as far as what you're able to put into it, you didn't have floors like we have in buildings today. You had chambers, you had small sections of the pyramid that you could use for storage. The rest of it was really just a big block, and you can see we've got a little person in the chamber there, but they were not efficient. They were not going to serve. The person can't
stand up because it's not tall enough.
Yeah, they were not going to serve the needs that we had moving into the industrial era. During the industrial era, you had people moving from the farms in the country into the cities, and you needed people in the cities to be able to work in a factory. And if you need a few hundred people to work in a factory, you really don't want a factory that's going to take a large amount of real estate. You want something that's going to be close together. You also want them to be able to live near your factory, and you don't want that to be so spread out that they can't get to the factory work on time, because these guys were working like 12, 16 hours a day. This was a difficult time as far as people being worked really, really hard, but you needed to have people. The solution to this was close concentrations of people in one area. All right, so let's move over and look at some other building materials. Can you roll the camera, please? Okay, so this is a little demonstration. We picked some.
Have you gotten to the?
I'm not to the Middle Ages yet. No.
Okay.
Okay, so these are, what kind of plant are these?
Horsetails.
Horsetails. These are horsetails out of our yard. So these are representing wood. So think of this like wood sticks. Wood is a great building material. You can nail it together. You can fasten it with different types of hinges and joints.
I've been thinking to use wood to make my own tree house.
That would be fun. But the problem with wood is that, number one, it catches fire. So once it catches a little bit of a spark, it may all go up in flames. But also you have a limit to how tall you can build it because the strength of it. I mean, wood is built to have a little bit of a flex to it, right? And if you build a structure like this and you're trying to go up super, super high, you're going to get maybe 2 or 3 stories tall before you start finding that it's going to topple over. It's like if you're trying to build and you just stack blocks one on top of another. This is another thing that people tried. If you've ever seen a really poorly built brick wall, if you have too many things stacked directly on top of each other, then you start to lose stability and they are going to collapse. And that's one of the problems with construction. You have to make sure that you have a thin enough wall that you have space inside, but also sturdy enough that it's not going to collapse under its own weight. Now, some of the solutions that they did was that they would make parts of the
crush the horsetails.
Yes, part of the lower walls would be thicker than the top of the highest walls. That would help for some things, but we're going to look at another solution. So here we have in the Middle Ages. In the Middle Ages, we had some towers built of stone. This was an improvement, moving back in the direction of trying to make tall things. But these were crowded. I mean, you want to think of like a Rapunzel tower. There's going to be something that goes up really tall, but what's inside it is going to be, again, some small chambers that you can store a few things in, but you're not going to have anywhere on the level of stories like you would have in a modern building. You have a stairway that takes up most of the space of the floors that need to travel from one floor to the next. And then you get to the top, you might have a lot more space up at the top floor because it's not being crowded by the structure of the walls, but that's about it. So, and even these things would go up about 270 feet maybe. There's some great ones in Italy that we still have around. Most of them
Why did you put a bird and a rat on there?
Because they like it up there. A lot of these have fallen down or been destroyed because they were not that structurally sound, and some of them were just destroyed in wars.
But that one hasn't been destroyed?
This one has not been destroyed yet, but maybe we'll do that later. Industrial Revolution. There are 2 developments that I want you to remember. Number 1 is the development of steel. Steel meant that we were able to build up. We were able to build up with strong structural materials that was not an outside framework, it was a skeleton on the inside. So this structure here has 3 stories to it. It's got a ground floor, for the second floor, third floor, but these are things that are able to build up, and we can put all kinds of things in the inside of them because we are not relying on the walls as support for what's on the inside. Great development. Now, there was a problem here though, which leads us to our next invention, the elevator. So if you wanted to have things on the top floor, you needed either stairs, which frankly stairs take up a lot of space, especially if you have a lot of people and things that want to go up and down them. And it's also difficult to move things up and down stairs all the time. If you've got a new load of clothing that you want to put in your warehouse or textiles that you're just storing until you're able to sell them, you don't want to have to carry them bag by bag by bag up the stairs. You would like to have a freight elevator, something to carry them up. Well, we had elevators. We had elevators for a while. They were basically something attached to a rope that would be pulled up and pulled up and pulled up, and then the rope would snap. And it would snap regularly enough that people didn't trust elevators. People did not trust that you were not going to die. They didn't trust that you were not going to lose some of your materials. If the elevator crashes down to the ground, can you imagine the damage done to the things that you've got a whole load of pottery and you're putting in the elevator goes up and then it crashes and you've lost all that pottery. It's very sad. So that was one thing. Also, if you were looking for convenience and you wanted to go up to the top floor, that's not very convenient. It's going to take a long time. So what you found was the most expensive floors were the ground level floors, because that was where the rich people would live, or the people that could afford it, because it would be the safest and it would be the most convenient. People at the top, those would be the poorest people. The people that got the cheapest rent were the ones that were willing to either climb a bunch of stairs or risk their life in an elevator. All right, so then enter in 1857, Elisha Otis invented the safety elevator. And I love telling this story because when you go to a big building today, or even a shopping mall, and you're riding on an escalator, you see the name Otis. Otis is a common brand name. The company that he founded is still around today, still running elevators, still operating, repairing, improving elevators into the 21st century. So in 1857, he invented what's called the safety elevator. This was something that was groundbreaking because suddenly it was going to be safe to ride in an elevator again. All right, roll over a little bit.
Oh, I think I've heard the story of this.
You have, and I don't remember what video it was, but one of your kids' videos talked about this.
No, it wasn't a video. I think it was a book I read.
Maybe a book?
Yeah.
Okay, so this was the safety elevator. Basically, instead of just lifting you up on a platform, you would have something like this, something that was arched, that would be pulled up and pulled up and pulled up, but as soon as your elevator rope snapped, which often it did, it would start to push into place, and it would provide extra friction that would keep your elevator from dropping more than a couple of feet. And Otis demonstrated this by actually getting in an elevator, riding to the top, and then telling the people demonstrating it to cut the rope so that he would drop. And of course everybody gathered around because in those days that's kind of how you demonstrated new inventions. You made it exciting, you made it a demonstration, and you demonstrated that I'm going to risk my life. And some people would come to see your success, and a lot of them would come to see, oh gosh, is this person going to die? Well, with the development of the elevator, now the top floor was the most desirable because you were out of the way of the smell of the animals on the street, because remember, we were just the beginning of the automobile age, so a lot of horse manure and various sewage and things like that was still in the street. It was the streets were pretty gross. So if you could go up to the top floors, you would. And that meant that now the top floor became the penthouse suite. It became the most valuable real estate, and the ground floors were the least desirable. Or actually lower floors. Ground floor was still pretty valuable because it would be the shopping floor for people walking in off the street. And as this happened, then the race became on to make taller and taller buildings. The first skyscraper, though, that we consider in the terms of skyscraper was the Home Insurance Building in Chicago, which was only 10 floors tall, and actually it was not even as tall as some of those medieval towers. But the fact that it was able to be a large building, it had a wide space, it wasn't just a narrow tower, means that we have turned a corner and we were able to efficiently use our space in the cities. Your goals for the day today: log into both Schoology and Google Classroom to get your attendance and your assignments. Industrial age packet, you're working on that. That should be due today. The Monopoly question, you want to answer that Monopoly question. And then a reminder, Tuesday is your last day to turn in any of your late work. So if you don't turn something in on time, you make sure that you get it done by Tuesday. All right, guys. Have a great day. Stay safe, stay healthy. Enjoy the sunshine. Bye.